We're live.
Ready to go? All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this listening session of the Bloomington City Council to order. It's Monday, January 29th, 2024. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We've got a full agenda tonight, so I want to cue people up and talk a little bit. Sally, you'll be first. Why don't you come on up if you could? Shanna Swanson, Anita Smithson, Melissa Clement, all three of you there? And
No, Melissa's not here. I let these folks know.
okay, and then the expectation is one of you are going to speak for the issue, or do you hope for that both of you are going to speak?
You both.
Both will speak. Okay. And then Julian, we talked, we've got the item 4.3. I'll give you an opportunity as a public comment.
I thought of is that there's no opportunity to go back and forth during the council meeting.
Well, that is a public comment opportunity, so we will be able to we'll go back and forth. So, okay. And then Peter, you're up. You're up as well. And then Janine Hudson. Janine. And anyone else? Are you looking to speak tonight? No. Either of you two? Okay, very good. So just given our time frame, and then I'll ask the caller online, are you hoping to speak tonight or are you just listening in to us?
Go ahead and let them in. Well, they may not have been able to hear us. So now go ahead. See if you can right click on them and go ahead, Mayor.
We've got a caller into our listening session tonight. Are you just listening in or are you hoping to speak tonight?
Just listening in.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. So what we're going to do to make sure everybody gets the time and we don't cut anybody off, we'll probably hit it at about 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. I'll time it here and we'll try and get through everybody, get an opportunity for everybody to speak here tonight. So Sally, good evening. Welcome. Go ahead.
Mayor, I will read from opinion number 19-2882, and after I will ask you if I read it correctly. Quote, A, attorney's fees. In an action to enforce 42 SC 1983, the court in its discretion may allow the prevailing party other than the United States a reasonable attorney's fee, 42 USC 1988B. The city does not dispute that Ness is the prevailing party. Therefore, the only issue is whether the attorney's fees sought by Ness are reasonable, unquote. Mayor, did I read the opinion correctly?
You have read what you gave us to review. You read those words exactly. Yes.
At the January 8th, 2024 City Council meeting, the mayor inaccurately stated the allegations she's bringing forward were not found to her favor, and she continues to question that. The mayor's comment is inaccurate, as noted in the opinion number 19-2882, dated April 7th, 2022, that I just read, that stated Ness is the prevailing party. And I do not continue to question the ruling. That's all.
Thank you. Council, any questions, comments? All right, very good. Let's move on. Anita and Shanna. Make sure you sign in before you and whichever one of you would like to start, please.
Hi there, my name is Shanna Swanson. I am the mother of two amazing children, Ezra, who's currently in 5th grade, and Levi, who's currently in 3rd grade at Olson Elementary. I'm here today to discuss my concerns with you regarding the safety of our children along 102nd Street. From France Avenue to Normandale Boulevard, as you know, there are 3 schools in that vicinity: Olson Elementary, Olson Middle School, and Jefferson High School. Now, as I understand, 102nd Street divides Councilmember Lohman and Councilmember Nelson's district. Ezra has almost been hit twice by a car along 102nd Street. The first time was when he was training last year to be school patrol and crossing guard, when I got a call from Mr. Meyer, Olson's principal, that thankfully another teacher yanked him out of the way when a car almost hit him, turning into the Olson driveway. While I'm grateful for the city for the improvements that were made last summer to reconfigure the sidewalks and entrance at Olson Elementary, more needs to be done. Just a few weeks ago on Monday, January 8th, this time Ezra was walking home from school. He waited at the crosswalk until it was his turn to cross 102nd Street. As he began to cross the street, out of the corner of his eye, he saw a car coming at him, which was moving very fast. and it had ran the red light. He was able to quickly turn around and get back to the safety of the sidewalk in the nick of time without getting struck by the car. According to the city's website, Let's Talk Bloomington, mn.gov, 102nd Street is considered a collector street, intended for longer trips within the community than local neighborhood streets with a suggested speed of 30 miles per hour. This is in direct contradiction to the speed limit that is actually posted, which is 35 miles per hour. Again, according to the city's website, 35-mile-per-hour streets should be considered arterial roadways, which can accommodate higher volumes of traffic, including heavy freight. Furthermore, I've seen cars go upwards of 40 and 50 miles an hour while kids are around. What's even more concerning is that there are no signs establishing a school speed zone, which should be closer to 20 miles per hour. From what I am told, the safety concerns along 102nd Street has been under study for over a decade by the Traffic Engineering Department and City Council. Yet, with the exception of the 2 modifications done this past summer, establishing a turn lane going into Olson and a turn lane coming out of Jefferson, not much else has been done despite many accidents, some of which have resulted in serious life-altering and permanent injuries to children. I urge the City Council to take more proactive measures to protect the lives of children, hundreds of children, who are at risk daily every time they have to cross 102nd Street to get to or from school. Please consider the following: establishing school zones and reducing the speed limit to 20 miles per hour while the school is in session. Install flashing lights on the crosswalk to make visibility more prominent when children are crossing. Implement turn lanes to prevent traffic congestion. And consider strategically installing speed bumps to slow traffic down. I'm asking you to invest in robust traffic calming measures along 102nd Street for the safety and protection of all of our children, so no more parents have to get the horrific call that their child has been taken to the emergency room because they were just struck by a car. Thank you for your time and attention. Your commitment to the safety and well-being of our community is appreciated.
Hi, Mayor, Council, and City staff. I am also here with Shanna because I have been volunteering during 2 of the COVID years, every single day at the crosswalk after school at Olson Elementary. Now I volunteer 1 day a week. I see cars run the red light every single Wednesday that I'm there. Without fail, at least 1 car. Cars are driving, visually much faster, like wind blowing scarves, how fast people are driving close to children. And I have had to physically, put my arms up, keep kids back on the sidewalk because cars run the light, and it's incredibly dangerous. It feels like highway speeds. And I know that you all are working on some traffic calming. I know that you've approved some funds for some signage and then some work to lower some of our speeds. But I would really like to see this work expedited. It's really discouraging that so many of our young children are at risk of injury. And thank goodness, I don't know anyone who's personally died. But when people are going 40 to 50 miles per hour, as you will see in your agenda tonight, I think it's item 5.3. There's a 78% of serious injury or death when people are driving 40 miles an hour and hit a child or a pedestrian. And it's honestly it's just a matter of time, which is really, really sad. So I would like to see expedited school zones. I would like to see 102nd between Normandale and France is a 4-lane road, but east of France, it's a 3-lane road. And it's, I think, a 2 or a 3-lane road west of Normandale. Why we have opened it up to be a 4-lane road in front of 3 schools is mind-blowing to me. I would like to see it reduced to 3 lanes. I actually think it's wide enough that you need other traffic calming. I would love to see a protected bike lane. There are so many children who would love to bike to school that just don't feel safe. They can't. I bike my kids to school when they want to bike to school so that at least they have an adult with them helping them make good decisions. And even then, I'm having to yell, stop, 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 when there's cars coming. And that's a really scary experience. I would love to see protected bike lanes. as I said, reducing to 3 lanes in that stretch, it would be just fine to go along with what the section is just east of France Avenue. And I just really would like to see this work expedited because our children's lives are really at stake and it's not acceptable to me. So that's all I have.
Thank you, and thank you both. And you mentioned it, Anita, we do have an item tonight to talk about the reduction of speed limits. It's been a discussion that we've been having. We directed staff specifically to look at it citywide and understanding that it's not slowing people down in the community. It's not just reducing speed limits. It's about education. It's about enforcement. It's about the environment, how we put it together, and the speed bump kind of, traffic calming kind of measures that we do take. There's a lot of different pieces to that. And I couldn't agree with you more. It was the most common thing that I heard knocking on doors. And I've got a series of photographs from every neighborhood that I was in of the little signs that people have in their yard about please slow down, drive like your kids live here, that kind of thing. So I'm fully on board. We'll continue this conversation. We'll see where our discussion leads on this reducing speed limits on different road segments and different roads within the city. And maybe we could have a discussion with the chief about perhaps enforcing a little bit more closely and maybe coming up with a plan with the school district to have a consistent presence there that slows people down, especially with the load in and the load out times for the schools. Councilmember Nelson?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just 2 quick thoughts. When we discussed this previously, just so you guys know, the council directed staff to prioritize the school zones. And this was one of the specific ones that came up in that we wanted them to work on as quickly as possible. So that did come up. And I will echo your sentiments about that road. And I'll tell you, just this morning, I drove down 102nd because, as you know, I live there around that area. And I did cross through France where it went down to 3 lanes. And I was passed in the middle lane because I drive like an old man doing close to the speed limit. That road has a problem. And I think people get used to driving fast on there, and that translates in both directions over by the golf course as well as to the east of France as well. And so sorry about the near accidents with your kids. So glad nothing happened, but yeah, we gotta do something to help that.
Council, additional questions, comments?
I did request records. I was hoping to bring some data on how many accidents there have been along between Normandale and France along 106.
And I think that was part of what we, I think, pulled together, or at least have looked at it in the past. Kirk, I don't suppose you have that at your fingertips quickly here.
That at my fingertips, I'm happy to do it with you.
Very good. Thank you. Very good.
Yeah, this individual signs that people provide are lovely, and I have one in my yard, and we have road cones, and I'm not above putting objects in the road, and we have put objects in the road so that people have to drive slowly when my kids play. But the individual responses aren't a replacement for systemic action.
Agreed. Completely agreed. Great.
If I may, Mr.
Very
Mayor,
quickly. Yes.
I have a feeling that 102nd Street will be the first place that gets a school zone. Right?
think so.
I mean, I don't think any of us will tolerate it not being the first place we implement one of those.
I mean, we were talking about it in the car over here. We care deeply about it because it's our own children, but we know that this is a problem in other parts of the city. I mean, and I myself, last winter when we had mounds and mounds of snow, I think I wrote to you all about a gentleman who couldn't use a wheelchair on the sidewalk and was in the street and it was dark. And I saw him, of course, before it was too late, but stuck behind him, even though he was going 3 miles an hour on 106, because so many cars didn't see him that I did not want this man to die.
Understood.
Like, that's terrifying. And, it's a problem across the city. So for our friends who live a little bit closer, and Portland, like Portland Avenue getting to Valley View too.
We need the school board's help, correct?
I think it's a conversation for our joint meeting, probably, as we've got that coming up in just a couple of weeks. Good. All right. Thank you so much. All
Board too.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Here. Good evening. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Peter Bergerson. I've been a resident of Bloomington for 34 years. I've been a block captain for 30 years. And the reason I'm here tonight is what triggered my presence here is the solid waste study, pay as you throw plan, but also a few other things that's been going on the last few years. And I just don't really know how you guys come up with all these ideas, where they all come from. It makes life more complicated and more expensive for some residents. It actually reminds me of my years in Sweden. I spent my first 27 years in Sweden, and that's where you quickly learn that the government is, you follow what the government, you're supposed to be nice and not stir in the pot. But nice turns into stupid if you don't voice your opinion, so here I am. This pay-as-you-throw plan doesn't really affect me personally because we have the smallest size can and we fill that halfway on average, but I'm here for the people that are going to be the most affected. And I'm thinking families with children, they're not only going to be affected by this, but they're also already hit hard on water bills, which follows with sewer usage rates. That's connected. And then the organics, the organic can that we are paying for and they are paying for with no choice to opt out. And to quote Debbie Guttel, when she was in the city council meeting, September 25th, 2023, she said the city is mandated to offer, her emphasis, to residents, offer, not require residents, as the city has done. I also think that seniors and disabled who must buy more prepackaged food, which generates more waste, and they will be affected too because they can't always cook for themselves and use fresh ingredients like most of us can. Finally, I would just like to throw in the curbside cleanup on top of all of this, which also affects all of us. That the cost was doubled by only collecting every other year and still keeping I believe it's $35 per year that we pay. So anytime something increases by 100%, there's something fishy about that. And I don't know how that works. Thank you for your time.
Well, we can start in reverse here. The curbside cleanup went to every other year because all of that stuff that was out on the curb, you know where it ended up? In the landfill just to the south of us in Burnsville.
Okay.
And we are faced with the possibility of that landfill being taller than Buck Hill, ultimately, if they continue to add to it. So we heard from a lot of residents, we heard from staff, we heard from the council, what are some other ways to deal with that? And we looked at it, the cost is the same. There are different programs that are associated with this now. It's not simply a curbside cleanup. There are reuse and swap programs. There are increased recycling opportunities. There is a large bulky item pickup plan that's in place right now.
It's extra cost if you.
There is, but there was a cost to establish that and put that in place as it is. So it's basically the cost of the curbside cleanup every year has now expanded into a variety of different things. Rather than having stuff end up in the landfill, we've got different opportunities and different possibilities for that stuff to not end up in a landfill, different ways to deal with the stuff that would be out there anyway. So that's the rationale behind that. It was a very expensive program, and it was a ecologically and environmentally horrific program, just because the worst thing that you can do with any kind of trash is put it in the ground. That's the worst way you can deal with it. I appreciate your concerns about the organics. We've heard it from a lot of folks about that. Commissioner Gotel was right. Hennepin County said they mandated that cities offer it. And we talked about it here in the city of Bloomington, and we decided if we were going to offer it to our residents, we were going to offer it in a way that it was going to have the best chance of succeeding. And we knew that if it was an opt-in program, it's kind of relational. If people don't opt in, if they have the option, and if they decide not to opt in and then they don't use the program, the cost for those people who have opted in goes higher, and it ultimately doesn't succeed. So as a required program, much like your recycling is required. And right now we're up to 28%, I think, of households in Bloomington who are taking part in this.
But either it's opt-in or it's required. It can't be both.
No, it is required. But yeah, we just
Talking about the organics.
it's required. I mean, you're required to take part in
Pay
it
for it, yeah.
like you do with your recycling, correct?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's different.
Councilmember?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd also note that state law requires that everyone pays the same rate. You know, and a number of other communities didn't do that, but if you go to them, they are now doing that to comply with state law. They were out of compliance with state law. State law treats it like recycling, and they say everyone has to be charged the same rate. You can't charge extra just to people that are using the program. I believe it's 145.93 that has that in it. So state law requires that. We have no, although we did make the decision, we honestly have no option. The state law.
I don't understand Debbie's.
The county mandates that it be offered. The state requires it to be paid the same as everyone, regardless of whether or not you use it or how much you use it.
All right, thank you. We're at time. We want to make sure everybody gets time. So council, any other quick questions? All right, thank you much.
Thank you for checking.
All right, and Janine.
Am I supposed to sign this?
You can sign in after you're done speaking. You can sign it for us. Thank you.
I've never been here before.
Oh, welcome. We're glad to have you here.
Okay. My name is Janine Hudson. I'm speaking today with you in hopes you will remove, redact, or correct information that is slanderous and inaccurate about me in another person's background check. A background check was completed on a relative of mine, and I'm going to be vague to try to keep confidentiality there. The document is dated 11/26/22 or 23. The investigator's name is Blair Anderson. After I read the document, I contacted the police department to speak to the police chief. I spoke to somebody named Nancy. I don't know who Nancy is. Nancy did not transfer my call to the police chief, nor do I know if he got the information or not. He may have and chose not to call me back. I don't know. As of today's date, no one has reached out to me to correct the information. If this misinformation were to be forwarded to the agency which I work, which is a government agency right here in this community, this information could harm my employment and reputation. As my current employment, I have the opportunity to work in the city of Bloomington, work with community engagement on occasion. I've been in this building providing information about the government agency that I work for, and I want to continue to do that. This information is very damaging and extremely incorrect. If this information were to leak to the community, it could be detrimental to my run for county commissioner, which will be in 2024. I'm announcing on the 5th. You guys get to know ahead of time. Aren't you lucky? My reputation and my livelihood could be damaged by a backgrounder writing information he apparently heard from someone other than the subject matter myself. The backgrounder never reached out to me before slandering me, and I don't know why. I want to know who I can correct to get this information removed, redacted, whatever you need to do so that my name, my reputation it's not perfect. We can all talk about all the errors I have. This is just not one of them. So how can I get that done?
I will tell you that I don't know. This is obviously a Data Practices Act and an HR issue. And I mean, I would look to our attorney to see exactly what we can talk about and how deep we can go into all of this, but.
I can give her, if she looks up my name, she's going to figure it out. I just don't want the public.
Understood.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and council members, the information, I appreciate the concern about something potentially leaking out. It won't leak out here.
But it could be transferred to another agency, which I may work for that agency.
So the backgrounding documents are available according to data practices for the person who is backgrounded.
Okay.
And, you know, that is data about that person, and whatever that person says in there is up to that person. So I'll double check and see if there is something that we can do for redaction. But my anticipation is that there isn't a provision for that, but we will follow up and we will get back to you.
Okay. Do you want this information? I can give it to her.
What's that?
Do you want me to know?
Sure.
Thank you.
This is our city attorney, by the way, so
Yeah.
she'll be a little bit more out there.
Thank you. We managed to get, look how prompt we are today. We normally are pushing right up against it. Came in late. Would you like to speak at all, or? Oh, either of you, I think you both came in late, so.
Well, I was told we didn't have a chance to speak because I didn't register.
Oh, no, we take walk-ins, but only if we have time. And yeah, please do it. We prefer you register. So.
All right.
I'm sorry, he was here first. We'll try and squeeze you in. If not, we'll see you next week. Is that okay?
Yeah, I was sitting back there getting unprepared. Because thought I was shut out. I'm here to talk about the EV vehicle proposals that you have.
Okay, and those are on the agenda this evening. You'll have an opportunity during the council agenda. Item 4.3 is a public comment possibility. So if you just stick around for item 4.3, you'll have a chance to talk then.
Tonight?
Oh,
I see.
Yep.
Well, I just want to say one thing, that I'm here actually to help, okay? That means I have knowledge and I'm trying to impart this knowledge. It's not a voting affair. I talked to the planning council and the planning council heard me out in the 2 minutes that I had to speak, or 3 minutes.
And you'll have 5 minutes tonight, I promise. And we'll hear you out. And I would like to take the opportunity to go with
okay,
to go with the other gentleman who stopped in. So thank you. Look at that, you caught a break.
Hello,
Good evening. You can state your name, please, and sign in when you get a chance.
my name is Robert Coleman. I'm 21 years old. I live in West Bloomington. I'm here to talk about the transit here in Bloomington. I have been a regular, more than weekly user of transit here in Bloomington. There's a lot of problems I've found with it. It is just, first of all, I mean, I was late because the Route 546 was 5 minutes late. The only options to get here tonight would have been 5:50, leaving work 10 minutes early without permission, or 6:50. There would be basically no other options to get here tonight. I don't have a car. I don't want a car. I like living without a car. It's just very tricky sometimes. One of my weekly things that I do is I play Dungeons and Dragons, and at a game store in South Minneapolis, which is 10 miles away from where I live. And it is sometimes very tricky to get there. It's oftentimes chaining 3 buses to get there, 3 buses back. The frequencies on the 546 leave much to be desired. And that would be getting from home to South Bloomington Transit Center, just down the road. When it comes to transferring between the Met Council contract routes, 546, 539, to other Metro Transit buses, it's very tricky. For example, on January 4th, I just wanted to have dinner at my favorite fast food place on the way to my D&D game. That place is on a high frequency route. The issue is that route, only 2 buses an hour come to Bloomington, to South Bloomington Transit Center. And I missed that connection misses by less than 30 seconds. The bus is pulling away as I'm running down the bus bays. And going 10 miles, if I don't make that connection which I never have, an hour and 40 minutes is not good enough. I would have to leave 2 hours and 10 minutes before Dungeons and Dragons. And getting back is an issue because the last bus is at 10:15. D&D ends at 10. So I have to leave early, or I have to take the 18 all the way and then walk a mile and a half. And that's down 106th Street. So it's the steep way, and I can't do that when it's icy. And when I was leaving early that day and trying to get home for the last bus, it just made me feel like I was just thinking, it's like when I'm living in the suburbs with this pretty mediocre transit, it makes me feel like, how dare I have a social life in the suburbs without a car? When, Bloomington is the third largest city in the metro area. It's in the name of the metro area. And if you just look at, our neighbors to the north, Richfield, 100% of the people in Richfield live within a 5-minute walk to a bus that comes every 30 minutes. And by my count, that's the people so there's 0% of people who don't live in Richfield that are within a 5-minute walk of 30 minutes or better transit. In Bloomington, that is 40,000 people. If you count routes 534 and 537, which are very underserved, it's around 47,000 people. It's really frustrating. All over Bloomington, signs are incorrect. There's a sign on Old Shakopee Road that still says Route 553, which hasn't existed since before the pandemic. There's signs there's a sign right outside my work that has, that's this one. It has the route numbers on top, and it has like a detailed map and information about Route 537 in particular. I've looked at this sign so many times, and nearly every single piece of information on it is incorrect. The only thing that is correct is the route number and the fact that it only runs weekdays. The frequency, the hours, the direction, the map, everything else is incorrect. In fact, this sign is not correct no matter where it is. It's not like they just swapped two signs.
Robert, I apologize. I have to interrupt you because we need to get downstairs to get to our council meeting.
I get it.
What I will do is tell you that we will have staff contact Met Transit. They're the ones in charge of the signs, basically, as their routes, and request that they take a look at them and get them updated, because that's unacceptable. That shouldn't be happening. And I'm there with you, and we will continue to advocate for increased transit options here in Bloomington. And that has been a topic of discussion. It's just a slow process, and I admit that, and I apologize for that, but it's the reality of it. Especially the east-west routes are especially challenging. But I appreciate you coming forward. Appreciate your ducking out of work a little bit early and getting a chance to just stop here tonight.
Yeah,
Mr.
please,
Verbrugge,
Mr.
anything to-
Mayor, Mr. Coleman, if you would leave your phone number or an email there. I'll also have one of our planning staff. Planning staff is our primary liaison between Met Council for transit issues. We'd just like to get more information, like the little image that you showed, just so we have an understanding of the facts as you're showing them, that our staff can then talk to the Met Council staff about it.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you much for coming in. Council, we're over time here. I apologize for that. Look for a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks much for everybody for being here this evening, and stick around for the item 4.3 to talk about electric vehicle plans. So thank you much.
Hey, Lisa, how are you doing?
Stop.
Good.
Good stop.